Each country sparks a certain kind of affection in those who dream of visiting it. Many people form long-distance bonds, moved by history, culture, economic strength, or by a clear symbol like soccer. That's how Argentina and Brazil win a place in many hearts, even without direct experience. What they do on the field keeps that bridge standing. In Argentina, soccer goes beyond the stadium and into daily life. To read this landscape, it helps to open the map. The country covers 2,780,000 square kilometers. Big by European standards, smaller than Brazil, with 8.5 million square kilometers. About 45 million people live there, a sign of low density. Geography links the territory to Chile, Bolivia, Paraguay, Brazil, and Uruguay, a web of borders that shapes routes, exchanges, and sports rivalries. Politically, Argentina is a federal presidential republic, with distributed power and a capital that radiates culture, Buenos Aires. For anyone planning a visit, there are flights from many parts of the world, usually with a layover and for many, no visa required. Day to day, the language is Spanish. There's no Argentinian language, but there are distinct accents and expressions. Among older folks, English shows up less. Among younger people, it's more natural. It's at this intersection of soccer, territory, and urban life that the Argentine imagination is forged. And this is where our journey begins, watching how this mix pulses through the streets, cafes, and stands, where the ball sets the pace and keeps the bond alive for anyone who admires the country, near or far. Spanish took root in Argentina from the start of colonization, when the Spanish presence organized the economy to extract resources and expand profits. As towns grew and migrants kept arriving, the language became not just a tool of administration, but of everyday life. Churches, markets, courts, and schools ran in Spanish. Over time, local accents, indigenous words, and Italianisms blended in, creating an Argentine way of speaking and being. This linguistic and cultural fusion carried through the 19th century and shaped identities, customs, and the way the country tells its own story. On the international stage, Argentina carried another mark: the dispute over the Malvinas Islands. The conflict with the United Kingdom, still alive in collective memory, ended in military defeat, but didn't end the claim. For Argentines, it's a matter of sovereignty. For most of the roughly 3,000 island residents, the bond is British, reinforced by economic and institutional support. On Argentine soil, it's a sensitive topic. Gestures of sympathy toward the UK often come off as provocative and open the door to misunderstandings. At home, the country lives with cycles of political uncertainty and inflation that, at various times, tops 100%, eroding salaries and families' planning. Even so, for those paid in dollars, there are openings. With an extra monthly income of $1,000, you can live comfortably. The average salary is around $500, and many live on less than $300, especially outside the capital. In coastal cities like Mar del Plata, rents drop a lot. A room for about $150, studios around $100, reshaping the cost of living and day-to-day choices. Let's start with the basics of daily life. Electricity, water, gas, and internet bills usually run between $50 and $60 a month. That number goes up when more people live in the home. In the kitchen, a couple spends somewhere between $70 and $80 on groceries. So far, there seems to be a certain balance. Someone making $400, for example, doesn't usually see rent eat the whole paycheck, unlike in countries where the minimum wage barely covers housing. But things change when inflation comes into play. The government tries to align salaries with the cost of living, but constant money printing eats away at purchasing power. That's why lots of people run to the dollar when saving. Saving in pesos means watching value slip away. Saving in dollars preserves a price reference, especially for big goals like buying a home. This economic squeeze shows up in the mood on the streets. High unemployment and short incomes feed frustration, which turns into a sense of disorder and rising crime, including in Buenos Aires neighborhoods. Instability, plus geographic distance, makes the country less appealing for those thinking about long-term tourism or moving there. The result is an outflow of foreigners and many qualified Argentines. In sports, the picture is clear. Young people dream of following in the footsteps of Messi or Maradona and heading to Europe. like so many Brazilians. Off the field, opportunities are scarcer. The economy leans on agriculture and related chains, while cutting-edge tech and global brands barely show up. The production line is short, and much of what's modern arrives imported, and therefore expensive. The challenge remains. Argentina lives a curious paradox. While the economy suffers from dollars flowing out and inflation erodes the peso's buying power, Buenos Aires keeps throbbing. At night, the city changes pace. Packed bars, music on street corners, conversations that run into the early hours. It's not denial of the crisis. It's a collective choice to keep going, and you can feel it at every shared table and every crowded dance floor. This vibe connects to a deep trait in local culture, the pleasure of getting together. Even on tight budgets, many people prioritize being with others, looking sharp, welcoming well. The result is a social scene that draws visitors in and creates a quick sense of belonging. And there's another surprising aspect: openness. The country was a pioneer in marriage equality and keeps frank debates about gender and sexuality. Differences exist, but the norm is coexistence. Out on the street, the urban aesthetic stands out. The capital and other larger cities recall parts of Italy and Spain, with well-planned blocks, lively squares, and architecture that holds stories. At the table, European influence is strong. Pasta, wine, and of course beef cooked for the asado. Almost a ritual. In the countryside and the stadiums, soccer rules. In dance halls and on sidewalks, tango translates into steps, the mix of nostalgia and intensity that marks the country. For those earning in dollars, daily life can be comfortable. Rent, restaurants, and leisure become more accessible. For those who depend on the peso, the math is different, done day by day. This duality shares the same stage and helps explain why Buenos Aires stays bright even in tough times. And why, when you're walking around there, it's hard to leave right on time. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed this deep dive into an Argentina that keeps pulsing even in hard times, drop a like. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episodes. Tell me in the comments, what grabbed your attention most in Buenos Aires? The vibrant nightlife, tango on the sidewalks, or the asado ritual? I read everything and can bring your suggestions into upcoming videos. See you in the next chapter of this trip.